Yeah, guys, and it's a photographic homage to the survivors, a chance for many people to share their story and faces through art, like Regina Dahlman. Regina Dahlman has long settled into her home in Kansas City. Her time spent at a Nazi concentration camp still seems like yesterday.
Well, one of her favorite stories was before the war. Her and her brother and sister were in the forest, and they would pick berries for the family to make pie. And that's one of her favorite stories, of just being free and just wandering with baskets and just picking berries.
Born May 17th, 1929 in Poland, Regina was only 11 years old when the roundup of Jews began. Unlike many of her family members, she'd survive.
They had the trains, and there was the selection. They were separating people to go to the camps or to the work camps. And that was the last time she saw her family, her parents. Her family, they went to Auschwitz. And that was it.
Regina Dahlman is one of about 9 Kansas City survivors whose face will be a part of the traveling exhibit called Lest We Forget. It's her story, along with so many others photographer Luigi Toscano wants people to know.
We can learn so many things from these people, you know. I remember that when I start this project, one of the survivors tells me, Luigi, when we forget the past, we are damned to repeat it.
He says his main goal is to create awareness and newfound understanding within younger generations. For Holocaust survivor Regina and her daughter Lori,
Let me see you smile.
they will continue to share her story of survival, but calling her daughter has now made her mission.
I do everything for her legacy, everything. I think it's so important.
And this exhibit called Lest We Forget, once again, is expected to debut in Kansas City sometime in September. Organizers are still working out the details of the project. Sharifa Jackson, Fox 4 News.
And a German-Italian artist is in Kansas City right now, photographing Holocaust survivors. At 5 o'clock, we told you about his exhibition coming in September. Leslie Aguilar is live at the Liberty Memorial this morning, and that's where the artist hopes to be able to display his project. Now, Leslie, you spoke with one of the survivors who will be a part of this effort. Really an interesting art project.
That's right. I spoke with one of the 8 Holocaust survivors Luigi Toscano will be meeting with here in Kansas City this week. That survivor is one of more than 400 the artist has photographed over the years. Erwin Stern is 90 and lives in Overland Park. He's from Austria. When he was 8 years old, his parents put him and one of his sisters on a train to escape the country. They went to France. Eventually, some Americans sponsored them to come to the United States. Stern spent most of his life thinking the rest of his family was dead. But when he was 25, he found out his father survived being shot by Nazis, then was held captive in Siberia for more than a decade. He gladly shared his story for the Toscanos project because he believes it's important we keep remembering the Holocaust. He says if we forget, it could happen again.
In another, 10, 20 years, there won't be any probably survivors from the Holocaust. So it'll be like a forgotten story. And it's a reminder that it can happen again anywhere.
And there is so much more to his story, and I'm going to put it together for KCTV5 News this evening. As for the project that his portrait will be a part of, it's called Lest We Forget, and it's going to happen in September. The location is still to be determined, but they're hoping to put it up somewhere here, near the Liberty Memorial. Reporting live in Kansas City, Leslie Aguilar, KCTV5 News.
An inspiring story now. A German-Italian artist is in Kansas City this week on a mission to document the faces and stories of Holocaust survivors. It's for a project called Lest We Forget. Leslie Aguilar spoke with one of those survivors.
I was almost 9.
90-year-old Erwin Stern still remembers the moments his world was turned upside down as a child in Austria.
The Nazis came in one night. In the morning, tanks on the streets. Life changed for everybody.
He lived in Vienna with his parents, 2 sisters, and paternal grandparents when the Nazis took over.
We had to wear the armband with the Star of David on, and we couldn't go to school.
His parents put him and his younger sister on a train one day.
It was a rescue mission by a group called the Children's Aid Society just in time.
If I waited another 3-4 months, in fact, I got the papers saying you to report to Auschwitz October 14th to be shipped there. So I got lucky.
He and his sister were smuggled to France. They lived in a castle there with 200 other rescued Jewish children. Stern compared life there to being at a summer camp.
The only thing made it different there were a lot of air raid signs, French and German planes, dogfights, and we had to wear gas masks to school.
When he was 11, Quakers sponsored Stern and his sister to come to the United States, where he eventually landed in Kansas City. He spent the next decade believing his whole family died in concentration camps until he was 25.
He had no idea if I was alive or where I was.
Stern's dad escaped an execution attempt, faking his death during a firing squad in Poland. He eventually made his way to the Russian border. The Russians imprisoned him in Siberia for more than 10 years.
He survived because he was a barber, and he cut all the guards' hair, so they kept him alive.
Stern thinks it's important to share his family's story for one reason.
That it can happen again.
Artist Luigi Toscano believes that too.
I decided to do something against anti-Semitism and racism.
That's why he's doing what he can to make sure we don't forget.
Luigi Toscano is photographing 9 Kansas City Holocaust survivors. Their portraits and stories will be part of an art installation to be revealed in September. The location is to be determined, but they hope to do it in a high-traffic public place, such as here in front of the Liberty Memorial. Reporting in Kansas City, Leslie Aguilar, KCTV.